We're good? Okay, welcome to today's Lunch and Learn webinar on the new Nutrition Facts label. I'm Carrie Leary, the Nutrition Resource Manager for the Regional Food Bank of Northeastern New York. And I have all three JSY nutritionists in here with me, Denise Schultz, and Monica Sislak-Morgan. We plan on recording today's webinar, and if all goes well, and that's an if, it will be posted to our website for later viewing. I'm delighted to have so many people. We have a lot of people signed up for this, so I'm really excited by that. But because of that, that's why we are asking for everyone to be in mute, and we have muted the computers. So hopefully it all goes well. I expect for this to take about 30 to 40 minutes, leaving plenty of time for questions at the end. So please use your keyboards to enter any questions that you have, and then we'll get to them at the end. Okay. All right, why can't I use the clicker now? Okay, next slide, please. All right, I am a nerd all the way through. So I'm going to start with a real brief, condensed version of the history of the Nutrition Facts label. We know that President Lincoln is the one who abolished slavery. He's also the one who signed the legislation to create the USDA back in 1862. This was actually done in reaction to the 1850 death of then sitting President Zachary Taylor, who died from foodborne illness that he got from consuming fruit and milk at a picnic. So I just thought that was really interesting. The FDA came into existence early in the 20th century, largely though as a truth in advertising law. As crazy as it might seem, sometimes sand was added instead of sugar. Pureed calf brains were added to milk to make it look creamier. Imagine how that cooked. Ground pepper shells added to pepper. Formaldehyde was added to milk to prevent spoilage. Yeah, just stop right there and think about that. Early on, though, the focus was on preventing consumer fraud. But with the turn of the century came more packaged foods, and by the Leave It to Beaver era, packaged and processed foods were widespread. So as the amount of processed foods in the marketplace began to increase, manufacturers often made misleading claims about their products. Consumers were confused by the marketing and worried about the trustworthiness of their food. I would be too if you added formaldehyde to my milk. 1973 saw FDA's first nutrition facts label regulation. So if the manufacturers made a nutrition claim about the food on the labeling or in advertising, or if nutrients were added to a food, then nutrition labeling was mandatory. If present, the label was required to include the following nutrients: number of calories, protein, carbohydrates, fats, vitamin A, vitamin C, your B vitamins, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin.
I cannot understand a word they're saying.
Iron. Optional with sodium, saturated fatty acids, and polyunsaturated fatty acids. I had a great video to show you. It was Dick Van Dyke showing the original Nutrition Facts label. And read the label, set a better table, and then he turned and give you this big smile over and over. However, we can't make it play so that you can view it and hear it as well. I will send a link out at a later time. So I'll send a link out at a later time, and I apologize for that. But that was the beginning of the Nutrition Facts label, and it looked like it was done in the 1970s. So meanwhile, scientific knowledge about the relationship between the diet and health grew rapidly, and as a result, consumers wanted to have more information on food labels, particularly on the labels of processed and packaged foods. Congressional concerns about food labeling had been building for some time. Late in 1991, the FDA proposed 26 new food label regulations. And the purpose of the FDA's proposals were threefold: to clear up confusion that had surrounded nutrition labeling for years. Does anybody else remember vegetable oil labeled as cholesterol-free? I do. To help consumers choose healthier diets, and to give food companies an incentive to improve the nutritional qualities of their products. So final regulations were published early in 1993 that mandated nutrition labeling in the form of a nutrition facts panel on most packaged foods. Nutrients to be listed on nutrition labels included calories, calories from fat, total fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, sodium, total carbohydrates, dietary fiber, sugars, protein, vitamins A and C, calcium, and iron. So new data then emerged indicating that trans fats raise the LDL cholesterol concentrations nearly as much as cholesterol-raising saturated fats. Both increase the risk of coronary heart disease. So in 2003, the FDA issued a final rule requiring trans fat to be listed on a separate line immediately under saturated fat whenever present in amounts of 0.5 grams or more per serving. But in 2015, partially hydrogenated oils, which were the leading contributor of artificially found trans fats, were found to not be generally recognized as safe by the government.
Oh, shit.
Trans fats do occur in nature to a small degree, largely in ruminant animals such as cows and goats, and they will remain on the label. Okay. Other than a minor change, the nutrition facts label, as we know, has been around for nearly 40 years. But meanwhile, our diets have changed, science has changed, everything is evolving. So in 2016, the FDA published final rules on a new nutrition facts label for packaged foods to reflect the newest scientific information, including the link between diet and chronic diseases such as obesity and heart disease. The new label will make it easier for consumers to make better informed choices. So here you can see the old label versus the new label. So the FDA is imposing the compliance dates for the nutrition facts and supplement facts label and serving size. So by January 1st, 2020, which was last month, manufacturers with 10 million or more in annual food sales must have converged to the new label. Manufacturers with less than 10 million in annual food sales will receive an extra year, so they have until January 2021. Manufacturers of certain kinds of flavored dried cranberries, I don't know why they get a separate rule, but they do, have until July 1st of 2020. And manufacturers of most single ingredient sugar, such as honey, maple syrup, and certain other cranberry products have until July of 2021. So if you've been looking at the labels in the stores, you might have already seen some of these changes. Some manufacturers started early, but there are still some of the older labels out there. And this revised label is many years in the making. So if we look at take a closer look at this new label, we can take a better look at what is different. You're going to see the serving size is now in a bolder type, so it's larger. The calories are now in your face, really big and bold. The serving sizes have been updated. The daily values for the nutrients have been updated as well. New to this is the addition of added sugars. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The nutrients of concern at the bottom, it used to be vitamin A, vitamin C, iron, and calcium. They have changed that. They got rid of vitamins A and C. Instead, it's now vitamins D, calcium, iron, and potassium. And also new is they now include the recommended amounts there.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
And on the bottom, there is a footnote.
I don't know what to.
Footnote used to be confusing to people, so they have changed the footnote, hopefully to make it more user-friendly. Okay, so if we take, again, looking at the new nutrition facts label, serving sizes have been changed to accurately reflect the amount consumed or changes in the industry packaging. By law, serving sizes must be based on the amount of food and beverages that people are actually eating. These are not the recommended serving amounts. These are based on what people actually eat or drink. And how much we eat and drink has changed since the previous serving size was done back in 1993. For example, ice cream used to be a ½ cup serving. It's now 2/3 of a cup. Soda used to be 8 ounces. It's now 12 ounces. Okay. There are also new requirements for certain size packages, such as those that are between 1 and 2 servings or are larger than a single serving, but could be consumed in one or multiple settings. So the mandatory second column for some foods, packages that contain 200 and up to and including 300% of the standard serving size will require a dual column label to indicate both per serving and per package nutrition information. Because how many times do you open up a bag and eat the entire thing because it's one bag that doesn't look like a family-size bag? So new, like I said, was the added sugars. Added sugars should be limited to 10% of your total daily calories. So they're listed in both in grams and as percent daily value. Scientific data shows that it's difficult to meet nutrient needs while staying within calorie limits if you consume more than 10% of your total daily calories from added sugar. And this is consistent with the 2015-2020 dietary guidelines for Americans. And here's that footnote that I was telling you about that they changed. Talking about added sugar, nope. Oh, yes. So definition of added sugars includes sugars that are either added during processing of foods or are packaged as such as sugar, brown sugar, high fructose corn syrup, any kind of syrup, invert sugar, honey, molasses, maltose, trehalose, sucrose, lactose. Notice it's ending in ose. Denise has once said, if it ends in ose, it's gross. Maltose sugar. Concentrated fruit juice is actually an added sugar. So if sugars from concentrated fruit or vegetable juices are in excess of what would be expected from 100% fruit or vegetable juice. So that does exclude fruit or vegetable juice concentrated from 100% juice that is sold to consumers. You know, like if you take the thing of orange juice and add your 3 containers of water, that is not a concentrated sugar, because that's the recommended amount that you should be drinking. Things that we want to look at for heart health. You want to choose foods lower in your total fat, saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol, and sodium. You want to keep those trans fats to 0 or as low as possible. And meanwhile, you want to choose foods that are heart healthy, have a limited amount of added sugars, are high in fiber, a good source of vitamins and minerals. So I'm telling you, good source, but how do you even know? We'll get there. All right. So first, when looking at a nutrition facts label, we're now actually going to read it and decipher it. First thing you do is you start with the serving size. And then you compare it to what you normally eat. So you get ready to do the math. If a serving size is 1 cup, but you eat half a cup, you'd cut it in half. If the serving size is 1 cup, but you eat 2 cups, you would multiply everything by 2. Okay. Then you're checking the calories. Again, you are doing the math and comparing it to what you normally eat. We are limiting your total fat, your saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol, and sodium. Saturated fat is found mostly in animal products. Your sodium, dietary guidelines for Americans want adults to have no more than 2,300 milligrams a day. That's the equivalent of a teaspoon of salt. Most of us get 3,400 milligrams or so, but most of that comes from processed foods, not from what we're sprinkling on our food. And too much sodium can increase the risk of developing high blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. Okay. Meanwhile, we're making sure we're getting enough fiber, vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium. So fiber, the newest recommendations are for at least 28 grams of fiber a day, which is a change from the previous recommendations. Fiber helps with your gut regularity, as well as reduces risk of developing cardiovascular disease. Fiber is a plant product and is either soluble or insoluble. Both are important. Soluble fiber can help to control the fats in your blood, as well as slow digestion and the absorption of carbohydrates into your bloodstream. And soluble fiber is found in beans, peas, oats, nuts, seeds, fruits, and vegetables. Insoluble fiber bulks up your stool, preventing constipation. Found in whole grain foods, wheat bran, nuts, seeds, and fruits and vegetables. Both soluble and insoluble fiber help to make you feel full. So vitamin D is necessary for healthy bones. That's why it's been added. It occurs rarely in foods naturally, but it may be added, such as to your milk. Your body can use the sunlight to make vitamin D, but we're now also careful with our sunscreen. So vitamin D is an important nutrient we have to make sure we are getting enough of.
Can you hear me?
Calcium continues to be a nutrient of concern and is important for proper muscle function and strong bones and teeth. It's found naturally in some foods such as dairy products, sardines, and may be added to others. Iron continues to be a nutrient of concern as necessary to help your body carry oxygen in your blood. Dietary sources of iron include dried beans, dried fruits, eggs, especially the yolks, iron-fortified cereals, liver, lean red meat, especially beef, poultry, dark red meat, and oysters. And potassium has been added. Potassium can help to lower your blood pressure, and it's found in potatoes, bananas, juices, beet greens, spinach, sweet potatoes, and white beans. So what does all this mean, and how do you make sense of the numbers? You want to take a look at the percent daily values. Keep track of the math that you've been doing all along, compared to, based on the serving size that you actually consumed. So the rule of thumb, if it's 5% or less, of that's something, whether you want to limit that nutrient or get enough of that nutrient, 5% or less is considered to be low, and 20% or more is considered to be high. Again, whether it's a good or a bad nutrient. And you don't see my air quotes. We're going to look at, there's the Canned Food Alliance, which is mealtime.org, has a lot of actually good reference material on the benefits of canned food, but there is one in particular that I'd like to show you. Hopefully everybody will be able to view that. So going down to my three tips to lower sodium. So basically, I don't know if you were aware of this, but if you have a can of vegetables and you're worried about the salt content and it's not packed with no added salt, you can take that can of vegetables, put it in a colander with running water. You can rinse off a lot of the extra salt. You can rinse off the extra sugar. So that is, I just think, a handy handout. I'm funny today. All right. So we're going to actually take a look at some labels now. All right. Here we're going to look at some 1% milk. Again, please continue typing your questions into the chat box. So this is an example of where they tried to make the nutrition facts panel fit into a smaller space. So you see it's kind of like a running dialogue. It's all there. Calories are big and bold, but it's just kind of condensed. So the nutrition facts label can be used if you're trying to determine if the food in that package is appropriate for you, or maybe you want to use the nutrition facts label to compare two different products to then make the best choice for you. So I'm going to ask you guys to get your little fingers ready on your keyboard. And what do you notice about the difference between these two products? The big thing that I see, one, calories are different, but largely that is because of the added sugars. Some of the pictures aren't as clear as others, but if you look at the 1% milk, it has 12 grams of total sugar. That is naturally occurring sugar. It has 0 grams of added sugar. But if you take a look at the chocolate milk, it has, I believe, 12 grams, 22 grams of total sugar. 11 of those grams are added sugars. And that percentage is 22%. And remember, we said you keep your, and that's for 1 cup of milk, by the way, 1 cup, 8 ounces. And we said keep your added sugars to 10% or less of your daily calories. So you blew it there with 1 cup of milk. Next, we have a pint of Ben & Jerry's chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. Again, a serving size used to be 1/2 a cup. It is now 2/3 of a cup. But how many people get upset, eat that entire pint of ice cream? That's over 1,000 calories. I don't think we need to look at that any closer because I think that kind of tells the tale right there. So here again, we're going to compare 2 different products. I know the one on the right is difficult to read. So we're going to take a look at both the same brand spaghetti versus whole grain spaghetti. So can you, remembering that 5% or less is low, 20% or more is high, can you find that is a, looking at the regular, is there a difference between the two? What do you see as a difference? It's weird not being able to have people talk back to me. No one's saying anything? Okay. So there's a couple of differences, big differences here. Obviously the fiber content has gone way up on the whole grain spaghetti, but also the calories have gone down on the whole grain spaghetti. And that's because that whole grain has less calories due to the indigestible fiber found in the product. So it's not just that you're getting fiber, but you're helping to lower the calorie content by choosing a whole grain food. How about a can of soup? So this is assuming that you open up a can of chunky soup and have 1 cup. If you notice, there are 2 servings per container, so you're eating half the can. How many of you actually eat the entire can of soup in 1 serving? All right, that's why they put both of those panels on there. So we're going to take a look at the second column where it says 250 calories, big and bold. And is it a good source of anything? Well, hey, yes, take a look at that sodium. That's 75% of your sodium right there just from that can of soup for the entire day. Not a bad source of fiber when you eat the entire can, but the sodium kind of, you know, balances that out there. For those of you from a food pantry, notice the protein is only 6 grams per serving, and that's why it's not considered a protein food. For a food pantry, it's just not enough protein there. We have some canned green beans, very low in calories for a 1/2 cup serving. It says there's 3.5 servings per can. Is it a good source of anything? Yeah, not tremendously. However, the highest there is your sodium content. But what did we say you could do to lower that sodium content? We said you could rinse them in a colander with running water. A lot of times people think that fresh is always the best way to go. So here I've got some fresh spinach compared to some frozen spinach. And if you look at them, they're pretty much the same exact thing all the way through. Are they a good source of something? They're good sources of things that don't show up on the nutrition facts label. Here we're going to compare frozen broccoli to cheesy frozen broccoli. As you can expect, there are some differences here. You can take a look at the calories. For 1 cup of regular broccoli is 20 calories. I believe, I'm not quite sure what there was quite a glare in the store, but it's 60 calories per serving for that cheesy broccoli. But if you notice, the sodium content changes, the fat content changes. So you have to be an advocate for yourself and know what is the best choice for you in terms of how much fat, sodium, et cetera, you should be eating and how it fares into your entire day's meal. Capri Sun fruit punch. It's made with 10% juice. That's healthy, right? Well, the only thing it's a good source of, and good source defined as 20% or more, would be your added sugars. So that 1 cup, that 1 pouch has 11 grams of added sugar. So here I have some Jimmy Dean Delight breakfast sausage sandwich. 270 calories. Okay. It's got 18% of your daily value for saturated fat. While that's not quite 20%, that's pretty darn high. 31% of your daily value for sodium. Again, much more than 20. Okay. So you're thinking maybe that's not the best choice. However, if you compare it to the regular Jimmy Dean breakfast sausage, if you're making choices and trying to choose which product is better for you, you will see that the Jimmy Dean Delights has less calories, a lot less fat, a lot less saturated fat, a lot less cholesterol, a lot less, actually the sodium's a little bit less. It's making it look like the Jimmy Dean Delights is looking like a much better choice when compared to other options. So if you have to choose a frozen breakfast sandwich, that would be a better option for you to choose. Here we're looking at two frozen meals. They're both 280 calories. So does that tell the entire picture? No, because if you take a look, the fat content is very different. The saturated fat, the sodium, holy cow, take a look at the sodium, right? Again, this is a tool to help you make a better choice for you and your needs. So this cracks me up. This is a frozen rosemary chicken and vegetables dinner. The sodium, again, 32% is more than your 20%. So that's considered high for your sodium. Your cholesterol, 25%. Again, that's considered high. It's found in the healthy meal section in the freezer. But again, compared to some other options, you know, maybe it's a better choice. It's not the best choice, but here we're going to take a look at white bread and wheat bread. Do you see anything different about them? Calories are the same, fiber is the same as in none. So for all those times where you say, well, I'm going to have wheat bread to make it healthy, unless you're choosing whole wheat bread, white bread and wheat bread are the same thing. Whole wheat bread is the one that is made with the whole grain foods. It's going to have the fiber in it. Excuse me. So you'll notice that the fiber content of this is much higher, 7% of your daily value for the day. And again, those calories have gone down because of that fiber. We have a Quaker Chewy granola bar. Granola bars are healthy, right? They're good breakfast choices. Right? It's 100 calories. But one of the things we look for in breakfast, what do we look for? Maybe fiber to help make you feel full. Is there any fiber in here? 1 gram. And remember, we need 28 grams or more. Is there really anything else going on in here? No, lots of added sugars though. Pop-Tarts. They have updated the serving size on Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tart serving size used to be 1 pastry. You know darn well that a pouch has 2 pastries in there. They fully expect you to eat both of them. So they did update that label. This is an example though where they're also using Spanish. So they have 2 languages there. So holy cow, it's got a lot of information that may be difficult to read. But it's all there and it's all meeting their requirements. And as can be expected, Pop-Tarts are high in added sugar, low in fiber. That is a different type of label. So veggie straws are so super healthy for you, right? Because they're made with veggies. So here I'm just comparing veggie straws to your classic potato chips so that you can make a choice for you. You like them straight, but if you're eating them because you think they are a health food, they are not.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Here we have some canned peaches that are, there's no sugar added. They're packed in water, but they're artificially sweetened with sucralose. So that's just something that's fairly new on the market that you need to be taking a better look at. It's just, sucralose is like Splenda. So I'm not sure everybody really wants to have Splenda in their peaches without knowing about it. Oh, sorry. We have some frozen peaches. Yay. Here's an example of a different type of label. So inside this multi-pack instant oatmeal, we have 4 different flavors. So they're required by law to have 4 different nutrition panels there. You can see they all have the same number of calories. In terms of fiber, you know, they've got 2 grams of fiber per serving, which is 9%. Is 9% high or low? You know, it's not great. But they're also hefty on the added sugar, as is my theme, apparently. Kellogg's Fruity Snacks. They sound so super healthy. But if you take a look at the label, that little pouch is not 1 serving. That little pouch has 2 servings in there. And pretty much all it's giving you is a lot of added sugars. This one I just find highly amusing. Soda is very low sodium, you know. Obviously, soda's not a great choice. And this final one I find amusing. Have you ever seen those snack go cups of cookies that they sell at the checkout aisles in the grocery store? It fits in your cup holder. So it appears though that's a single serving, right? It's actually 3.5 servings of cookies in that little thing. So the packaging of how things are packaged can be misleading to some degree. So that's why you really do need to be taking a look at the nutrition facts label to determine what the serving size is, how many servings are in there, and then compare what you eat and do the math. That was the presentation. We're now going to try to answer some questions that you may have.
There was one question earlier on in the presentation. I think it was talking about the update between the old and new label. And the question was, what was the logic by removing vitamin A and B on the label?
So vitamin B was removed long ago, before the 1993 label, because when we refine everything, we tend to add that vitamin B back in. So vitamin B has not been something that we've been shown to be lacking in our diets. And since they did the nutrition label in the 90s, it's found that we do get enough vitamin A and enough vitamin C in our diet. Instead, it's the vitamin D and potassium that we're not getting enough of. Next question.
Then I have another one. Are alcoholic beverages required to post nutrition labels? If so, do you have any metrics showing beer versus wine versus liquor?
I honestly do not know if alcoholic beverages are required to. Kristen's going no. I don't believe that they are. Yeah.
Beer might, I know wine doesn't.
And I don't believe they're going to be trying to add it.
Don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Good question. What other questions do we have out there? Really, guys? So what other questions do you have? Okay, then.
Can we get a copy of this class? We see you are recording it.
Yes, we are recording it. We will be posting it to our website, assuming that the audio is okay. We will be posting it to our website, so you'll be able to see it and hear it. And if you're looking for any of the information in there that's not included in the slides, let me know and I can share that with you. Anything else? No?
You're just told the audio is fine.
I want to
Hopefully it records well.
I want to thank everybody for joining us, and thank you for the interest in this topic, and have a wonderful day and weekend. Bye.
Bye.